Douglas Coker from Enfield Green Party. The Green Party needs to present itself to the voters through the media as well as it possibly can. And that's a big task, and at the moment I think it falls on too few shoulders. We have got prominent people who appear and all the rest of it, but I kind of imagine that the chair of GPEX might have at least a bit of a role in terms of presenting the party to the media. It might depend on the issue and whatever and all the rest of it, but I'd be interested to hear the two candidates' views on what they think they could do should the opportunity arise to get in front of the camera, behind the microphone or whatever, and say lots of good stuff about the Green Party.
Jen, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll give it a go anytime. I have dragged myself down to television centres for very early morning starts before now to talk about contraction and convergence. In fact, one time I remember something I knew nothing about the night before, but boy did I do some hard revision that night. Fortunately, it wasn't too difficult for me at the end of the day. They didn't ask me any tricky questions. I was a bit worried about that. But yeah, you're right, there are not very many people that get put up. But generally speaking, it's quite difficult, I think, for our press office to get other people up there. I think, you know, even when we had a couple of years ago, Caroline and another principal speaker standing, and even now, it's generally the case that people always like to go for Caroline. So when you do have choices, the media seem to just like, you know, that one particular person. So it is quite difficult to get other people in front of the media. So we have, you know, Jean sometimes managed to get up there. We have a deputy leader who sometimes we manage to get out there. So I think it's quite difficult to widen out the group of people that the media want. So to a great extent it's up to them. Yes, the press officer obviously will offer it, and I've worked with this press officer before and he has had me in front of cameras before. So that, you know, hopefully might happen again if he feels that it's the right time, the right place, and the right topic, I think, for me to cover, and that no one else can do it. But equally, I think it is quite handy when we've got somebody who is so media savvy and so good, and that so many of the electorate recognise now. It's really quite helpful, I think, to keep on using Caroline, because she, you know, is a very good figurehead, I think, for the Green Party, and that people recognise her. And so, if we want to talk about marketing and branding, that would be the person, if I was in charge of marketing branding, which I guess we don't really do, but if we did, that I would want her up there all the time. A bit miserable for her having to keep doing it all the time. But I think that would be the best thing to a great extent. But yeah, I absolutely set your point, and I'd be very happy with that around you as well.
Thank you. Mel?
I agree with Jane. I think when the party such as ours has very limited opportunity to present our people to the media, I mean, you know, part of the main reason why, you know, we, you know, changed the name of the, you know, the principal spokesperson of the party from principal speaker to leader was to make it more obvious to the media and to the public who represents us. And you know, Caroline, you know, is the democratically elected leader of the Green Party, and as such is the most you know, sort of appropriate person to present our policies and our ideas and our vision to the public. I mean, again, I have to agree with Jane here. If it felt to me, I'd love to do it. And I think especially, and I think that's something that, I mean, you know, I mean, there are going to be certain opportunities which, in many ways, it might even be, you know, sort of better fit to have the chair of the national executive present something to the national media or to local media, or particularly, you know, in terms of specialised media online, because, you know, if elected chair, I'm responsible for actually implementing a particular vision of how the Green Party is changing to adapt to modern challenges, and, you know, and consider itself a more serious and successful political party. And as such, I think I would be, you know, among the best people if elected chair. You know, upon that, you know, sort of running with that vision. My campaign is based upon that vision of a more successful, more democratic, and a more professional Green Party. I'll be among the best people to explain that. I think, again, in various other campaigns, you know, if you look at various organisations, especially when communicating with potential supporters, you might get an email from someone heading up the organisation of of that campaign. I know certainly, in the Obama campaign, you'd not only get, for the election of Barack Obama to the US President last year, we would get emails featuring videos, not just from the candidate himself, the leader of the party, as it were, Barack Obama, but you also get emails and special messages and communications from, the chair who organised, the chief organisers of the campaign. And certainly, I think that's something that, if people see that there's someone out there with a vision, not just to change in the country, but change in the Green Party itself, to better change the country, then I think that would be helpful. And I definitely, whilst understanding media, having very, my background is in media and communications, with a very tight focus upon Caroline as the leader of the party. I think also the public needs to be able to get to know how the party is changing. And as chair, I think I've been among the best people to explain that to them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the floor? Okay, I'll go on to the next section, which is the candidates asking questions to each other. So, Rael, would you like to go first? Do you have a question for Jan?
Okay. You said that you believe that GPRC should become the main decision-making body of the Green Party, and you cited as a reason, you said it should take on a more strategic leadership role as the main decision-making body of the party, and you cited as a reason that it was more democratically elected in terms of regions. Now, my problem with GPRC, other than the fact that most members don't know what its real purpose is, how it makes decisions, which obviously hampers accountability and undermines its claim to be more democratic than the national executive. My problem with GPRC is that it's not directly elected by the members. Yet it's true, members can go along to the local party meeting, which then elects the reps that sit on GPRC, the regional reps. But that's not direct, and it's not done in account. I've spoken to members in different regions. In London, it's fairly obvious that the process of electing our regional reps for GPRC, was fairly transparent and fairly obvious. Even if, again, I'm not satisfied with the fact that it's only those people who turn up to the meetings that can then elect the reps, which is not how I believe things should be. I don't think democracy should be in the hands of simply those who are that dedicated to turn up to a meeting. It should be something easy that you can just vote for, either by postal ballot or online, as I'm proposing, as you do for GPEC. So, but in other regions, people have no idea who their GPRC reps are. It's very hard to make that connection, and often you'll find that GPRC reps and GPRC itself is, especially given that it's supposed to be a forum to guarantee regional representation. It's quite hard. The question will be, how can you say that GPRC is more democratic when it's not directly elected by the membership, number one, and number two, GPRC already has quite a significant role in being the main body that governs certain democratic procedures, and I think in light of what's happened recently, a lot of things that happened recently that have gone out to the public to discipline certain members and certain sort of procedures. Do you not think that there's a governance role for GPEX, and there's an operational role for the staff, and there's a strategic role for the GPEX, and then the disciplinary role for GPRC? I think in order to clarify, isn't it better that there's a separation of roles rather than giving more power to GPRC?